Another Spike episode. Really, after I review Dragon Quest, I have to review another Spike episode. That is not good. Okay, fine. Twilight is extremely sleepy since he really did all the work over 24/7, since he hasn't slept at all for a while. Which means that she has to sleep in the daytime, and Princess Cadence wants Spike to do the work for Twilight. Now, the problem with that is that Spike doesn't do this kind of assistant work at all. Especially that the assistant stuff that he does for Twilight is basically really weak and really not that hard to do. However, doing this in Canterlot is way too difficult for Spike. Spike really wants Twilight to sleep very calmly, without any noise. And not only that, almost everywhere outside. Outside is sometimes noisy, Spike. Get used to it, because I slept in bed a lot, and I feel a couple of noises. It's common like that. Get used to it. However, things just get even more worse. Well, ponies really need Twilight's help. And the fact that Twilight is asleep, Spike needs to do it by himself. Spike, that's not a good idea. I mean, I get that the other ponies are really busy, but seriously, this is not easy for you. Seriously, get someone else to do it. You can't be responsible all the time just because Princess Cadence told you to do what Twilight does. Ugh. And not only that, Spike make up lies of what Twilight says to the ponies, which will lead to chaos. And not only that, Spike is somewhat of a joke in this episode, since he's also one of the characters who actually get appreciated by some ponies. He gets the fame as well by eating more gems. However, Princess Cadence, they really thinks that he's not taking everything care of. Which means that, in case you haven't known, Spike is really making bad decisions. Because of the destruction that the people are making in Canterlot, it became a disaster. And oh boy, here comes one of my least favorite things from any other Spike episode. Bad things will happen. And when every other pony in Canterlot really wants Twilight, Spike refuses because she is still sleeping. But eventually she wakes up, which leads to an angry mob, and then we get to see the destruction that Spike made. But every pony decides to help him, since he really apologizes to everyone. However, it doesn't make up everything in this episode for me. Now, this episode is not one of the worst Spike episodes, but it's still very poor. Spike is completely doing all this stuff for himself most of the time, and he isn't aware of any of the problems of what's going on. I did say that he didn't know what to do, but that's the exact same problem. I get that Spike is supposed to be an assistant, however, when it comes to situations in Canterlot and not Ponyville, it just doesn't work when he's in very serious situations that he's never been part of in Ponyville before. Because of the stuff that he's been going all around just for Twilight to get some shine, it's just pretty bad since he's so overprotected for Twilight for sleeping. Especially that the orders that the other characters want Twilight to help. I mean, I get that Twilight is a princess and things change later on in the series, but seriously, Twilight didn't do anything in this episode because she was sleeping and Spike has to do everything for her. Even when Spike apologizes, it doesn't make anything better for this episode. Especially that he doesn't know how to take care of orders this way, and the orders that he tries to help just doesn't work since he usually thinks about himself most of the time in this episode. And the ending, well, Spike almost, and when I say almost, sneeze on the statue, the episode just ends. I'm not kidding. Apparently they feel bad for Spike. They decide to say, you know what, we suffer him enough. Let's just end the episode right there. Otherwise, things would just get even more worse from here on out. Anyway, this episode was just boring and weak for me. For a Spike episode, it's very poor. I didn't like anything in this episode. Even the appearance of Princess Cadance doesn't save it. I'm really depressed of everything in this episode. Anyway, this episode deserves 5 out of 10. It's a very boring episode and not a very good Spike episode.